Welcome to another episode of Travels with Charlie, Vermont Politics in Real Life. Today we're speaking with newly elected and re-elected members of the House. I want to introduce them to you. Welcome to Michael Morgan and Lee Morgan. And Michael, it's uncle and nephew, kind of interesting combination in the House. And Michael, I guess, heading to the legislature this session, you'll be recognized as the person that unseated the Speaker of the House, Mitzi Johnson.
And I would like to add that the police chief there at the State House has already issued him a flak jacket.
So how's it feel, Michael, going in and you're the one that...
Well, yeah, I mean, it is interesting because everything that you kind of see in print or talking media that's the inference that, because I was the guy just ahead of her. So I'm being viewed as that person, then so be it.
What message do you think that sends to Dems in the House that their Speaker has been unseated? Lee?
Well, in the House, I suspect that people are thinking twice now about their agenda. I think they're realizing that, well, we've just lost the Speaker. We've just lost the leader of our Progressive Party. And I'm thinking that they're thinking maybe we had better tone it down a little bit, realizing that if a speaker and a leader of one of the groups can be taken out, can be defeated, I think that they might say maybe we should in reality cross the aisle, which they have many, many times said, but it's never been done. And I'm hoping that that will be the case this time.
You served back in the legislature back in the mid-'80s.
Back in the mid-'80s, yes.
And then again now, and of course...
And again now. And I can tell you there's a lot of difference between
well, we're going to talk about
then
that
and now.
Great perspective.
Yeah.
And of course, this will be your first time serving. You've been on select board?
I've been my 11th year on the select board. I did 9 years back in the late 80s and through, I think, 1997 or 98.
And an interesting bit of history with you, Lee, is that each time that you've run, you have beat an incumbent Democrat.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That's true.
Now that's, I don't know if that's a badge of honor to wear, but how would you explain that, here comes this guy in a state that, if you're Republican, sometimes it can be pretty difficult to win an election, and yet you are unseating Democrat incumbents. What do you think? What do they like about Lee Morgan?
Well, not to degrade the other people, they were fine folks, but I think that I give the impression, and I am, more of just a regular guy. I do have a postgraduate education from even above a bachelor's degree, but I'm able to talk to people as they are. I don't talk above them. I talk with them, and they seem to understand that, and they like that.
Who approached who and said, "Hey, this would be a great idea. We both run for House seats." You were already in.
Well,
did you approach?
No, he wasn't already in because I ran 2 years ago as well.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I wasn't in. It was a first shot for both of us for the summer of 2018, and we realized that there was discontent. We talked to a number of people, and they would say, "Well, we've got to have a change here. Things aren't working. Taxes aren't going down. The lake's not getting any cleaner. We don't get contacted by our legislators. They don't seem to care about us anymore." And so we played upon that and talked with a lot of people. It just worked out that people thought that I would be a good representative, obviously, because I won the election.
Mitzi wasn't responsive to her constituents. This anecdotal things I've heard, and even myself contacting her for an episode of Travels with Charlie. And Not even a phone call back or an email saying, no, I can't do it, simply no response.
There were people her followers, that said, yes, she was very good at getting back. But the many, many people that I talked to, and the same with Mike, and our first election and second election, it came up every time. She doesn't get back to us. She doesn't get back to us. She has another agenda. She wants to climb the ladder. She forgot where she came from, and she forgot who had to elect her. And I think that was her demise.
So Lee, as you mentioned, you served in the House back in the mid-'80s.
Yes, when Madeleine Kunin first took office.
Yeah. So the obvious question is, how have politics changed since the '80s, the mid-'80s? Better, worse, or the same?
I enjoyed it more then than I do now. I think one of the reasons is there was so much less technology. There today, it's in our committee room. It's just like this. There are cameras on us constantly. You have to be a little aware of what you're saying and how you're saying it. There was much more one-to-one, personal contact. You talked with people. You didn't text them all the time, and the pages sent notes back and forth. So I think it was a tighter group.
Let's talk about some of the challenges of the upcoming session. And first off, with any session, just the whole issue of special interest groups. And Lee, you can probably address that more.
Well, as of today, there are over 450 bills being introduced. And it's still climbing, and that's a tremendous number of bills. Many of them will go nowhere, and because a lot of the things that we're going to be doing right off will still be COVID related, a lot of those will go nowhere. So I think a lot of the legislation that normally would be up for discussion in ordinary times will not happen. I think we will be talking about and probably passing less legislation. We're economically challenged considerably, and so we're going to have to, anything we do, we're going to have to look very, very hard at it before we say, yes, we're going to pass this bill. Because we've got Ways and Means and Appropriations saying, wow, this is great, but who's going to pay for this?
Yeah. Well, some of it we can blame on COVID, and some I think you can just simply say it's mismanagement. We've overspent.
Oh, absolutely. We
have to be careful if we're looking for solutions to that we realize that it wasn't COVID that caused this, it was mismanagement. So,
over many years.
So why should we bail you out? And let's take a look at some of the challenges that you are going to be facing.
We have a big deficit.
Big deficit. Yep. Could be that just alone from the meals and rooms tax. So $40 million. Here's an industry that's basically been shut down because of COVID. To no one's fault other than for our safety, we've had to shut down. So hotels, you don't have people vacationing here. They're not eating out. They're not drinking out.
Right.
People want to come up to ski, but that's all going to be limited, and that's a big moneymaker during the winter months. I am hoping that this year, with the economic situation the way it is in the state of Vermont, that even the people that love to tax and love to spend will sit back and say, we can't do that this biennium. We've really got to look very carefully at this bill. And is this bill essential for the benefit of the state of Vermont and the people in the state of Vermont? And we have to look at this and decide, is it good, is it bad, can it wait? Where's the money going to come from? That's the big question. Where is the money going to come from? And that's what I'm hoping that both parties, well, we could say three parties, and I guess four if you consider independents, all four groups, I'm hoping will say, okay, this is what we have to do, and we have to do this together.
How much can we depend on the federal government for bailing us out? I know there's a lot of
They've been doing
programs.
it
They've
considerably,
been doing it.
and as of today.
But will that continue? I mean, there's only so much.
Right now, it's not. Right now, the federal government hasn't come to a further package.
Well, as of today or yesterday, they have ended the subsidies for unemployment
in Vermont.
Yes. And I know Bernie Sanders the Senator Bernie Sanders is fighting very hard to see that continues.
This is the part of the program where I get to take out the magic wand and hand it over to our guest, and we'll give you an opportunity to make a wish. And there's certainly lots of things to wish for, but I'm going to leave it up to both of you. I want to thank you again both for being with me, Michael Morgan and Lee Morgan.
Yes.
Uncle and nephew, both heading off to the House, coming up in the next session. So good luck to you. And
the magic wand.
Go ahead,
so
make your
wish. Make
wish.
a wish.
Yeah.
In my head, or do you want me to
hear it? Oh, we want to hear it.
You want to hear it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
My wish would be just what I think we've talked about pretty much throughout this interview, if you would, is that I hope that the legislature in the state of Vermont this year actually has a dialogue, a discussion, and everybody's voice is heard in it, and it's not a one-sided situation. Because if that continues, that's bad for the state of Vermont. Simple.
Lee?
And I'm hoping, well, this is a ratty-looking stick.
Hey, easy. I was pretty proud of it when we got that a few episodes back.
Like a broomstick now to look at it.
You're the only one that's been honest about it, to be honest with you.
I'm hoping that we are able to get COVID shots and get the COVID under control to the point where everybody is happy and feels safe, and that we can get the legislature back to its normal workings, and we meet at the State House where we can actually get things done through discussion and through debate that's not happening now. I know that almost everybody in the legislature is very unhappy with what we're having to do, and they know as well as I do that this is not the best way to make laws for the state of Vermont, and I hope that this magic wand will cure that problem.
I may have to let you keep that. You can bring it to Montpelier when you head down there. Let's see if it works. I'll probably have to change the batteries in it.
I can tell you what I'd use it for.
It's easy now. Again, I want to thank.
Edit that out, please.
No, we're keeping it in. Thank my guests today, Michael Morgan and Lee Morgan, both heading off to the House in the upcoming session. I want to thank you for watching this episode of Travels with Charlie, and remind you that you can watch more episodes of Travels with Charlie on YouTube and on Facebook, and I'll see you in my travels.
Talking president, though we may not agree, let your thoughts run free. You can have your turn if you feel the burn.